Hey guys, what's going on? And welcome to our review of Mario Maker 2. Now this game's obviously been out for a while. In fact, they might even be making the third one. Hasn't been confirmed yet, but they might. But we are not going to review the first one because there's no need to do that. First of all, we haven't played it on the channel. Second of all, it's basically a lesser version of the second one, because the second one kept pretty much the same features and then added a bunch of stuff. And so the first one's kind of relevant now. Plus now I think the Mario Maker 1 servers anyway are down, because Nintendo stopped it. So anyway, just want to get that out there so people are like, well, where's your Mario Maker 1 review? It's not going to happen. So, with that being said, we're going to start with the game company / creator. It's Nintendo, the 5th time I think we've done the game on Nintendo so far. I don't think there's any much closure I need to go over with them. You guys know who they are. If you don't, then I would get out of the rock that you're currently living in and stop being a Patrick. That's what I would say to you. But you should know Nintendo by now. Of course, that brings us to what is done well. Obviously, it's a Mario game, and what I think is done well is one of my favorite things in video gaming ever is being able to make your own levels. You guys have seen this with not only the Mario Maker series, but also the Geometry Dash series. Both have custom series in them now because they have a level editor. And I just like the idea of being able to take an engine and being able, like, the team gives you their engine, and they're like, hey, you make your own levels. Because I think that's pretty funny. And I don't think people are always like, oh, well, they're just being lazy because they're making the community do it. I don't think it's lazy at all. I think it's really cool being able to make your own levels, especially with Mario, which I'm sure everyone's been, like, before Mario Maker was even a thing, everyone I know wanted to do that. And with Mario Maker 2, like I said, Mario Maker 1 was out first, obviously. Well, with Mario Maker 2, we can now do that. And Mario Maker 2 also has a lot more features. So they have the Koopalings, which was the thing I definitely wanted in Mario Maker 1 that wasn't there, because it was just Bowser and Bowser Jr. before. But now they have the Koopalings, they have Pom Pom if you're in the 3D world thing. Of course, the 3D world game style was new. I wish they did add a second one. I'm not sure why there was an empty space there. But right now, that's the only one. And I think they might make a third one, and that will be like the last one in the series. Because they'll bring over the stuff from 2, and then they'll add in like 2 more modes or something, I don't know. But I think they might make a third one, and that would be the last one probably that they do. Obviously the online is pretty good. I'll get into online in a little bit when we get to what can be improved. But the endless mode is pretty cool. I do wish they brought back the 100 Mario challenge, but they didn't. But the endless mode is pretty cool. I don't use these features typically in video games, but you can customize your avatar. I just never really used them myself, but it's a cool little thing for people that do want to do that. Just the level editor is really easy to use. You really can't get confused with it. The only thing that might be a little confusing is how the sounds work, but even still, you can work your way through that one. So just the overall thing about the game is pretty well done. So, but that does lead us into what could be improved. The biggest thing that this game needs to improve on is the multiplayer, because anytime you're in a multiplayer server, there's often times where you will lag out even though your connection is just fine. Like, it'll tell you, hey, your connection's low. It's not. It's usually the game's fault, actually, or the server connection itself. Either way, it's very rarely your actual internet, and it's just kind of annoying because especially when multiplayer versus, which is where you're versing everyone else, it makes it especially hard to win if you're having severe lag. Now, if you've been playing the game for a long time, which I know some people have, then you probably get used to it after a while. But to a new player, that's going to be very off-putting, because it's like, well, I'm lagging, so I'm going to have no chance of winning because these guys probably aren't. And they probably are if they're in the same server. But it also depends on the matchmaking. I think the matchmaking could be improved a little bit too, because if you set your thing to US, for example, and let's say you're in Virginia, you might get someone from California, and so that distance is making you lag, which would be quite annoying. So I think just the matchmaking in general could be a little bit more improved. I'm not a big fan of the whole lag system, because like I said, lag makes it really harder to play, especially for multiplayer versus. So just overall, the multiplayer, another thing that could be improved is, like I said, I wish they added another game mode, not just 3D World. 3D World is obviously great and all, but like maybe if they added an Odyssey one, or it's something else, or 2D, or like the land ones or whatever, the black and white ones. Like something like that, right? Where it's like, because there's an empty space next to extra game modes, and it was plural as well. So it seemed like there was an intention to do it at first, and then maybe they drew back on it. Was like, hey, let's save this for the third one, which I guess is fine. Like I said, if my theory is right that they're gonna make a third one, and that'll be the end. I do hope there's at least like 8 different game modes we can choose from. Obviously, they're going to vary depending on what's in them. So, for example, if you made a world in, let's say, New Super Mario Bros. U, and you try to switch it to 3D world, it's going to actually delete your whole level because a lot of mechanics don't follow over into 3D world or vice versa. And so they would probably work very differently, but that's okay with me because I like the way 3D world works and kind of stuff like that. And I like the way that the core modes work too, right? So I think they could have added at least another one and saved like maybe 2 more for the next one. I'm sure that if they do make a third one, that's what they were waiting on, is they're saving it for the next one. But with that being said, I think that's probably the main 2 things I would change if I made the game, which I did not. Or did I? No, I didn't. So moving on to any problems or glitches. I think there was initially a glitch when the game first came out. Obviously, they patched that pretty much immediately. Nintendo's always been good about patching things, unless it's a game that's like 20 years old, like Mario Kart Wii, for example, that has a couple glitches that they're never gonna fix. I don't think there were any that I've ever encountered, as far as I'm aware, so I can't really speak on them too much. But I know that there obviously were some that existed. So, moving on to controls. Your classic Mario controls, it depends on what you're using, but if you're using the Switch, it's the, well, actually, I usually use controller, usually. So the classic Mario controls, A jump, you know, you really can't go wrong with it, and if you've ever played Mario game before, it will be the exact same, actually. Like I said, it does depend on what game mode you're in. For example, you can, like, roll. I don't know what the mechanic for it is used for, but you can roll in 3D World, whereas you can't in the other game modes. So it will take a little bit of getting used to the 3D World controls, but they're not too far off from the normal game mode controls. So they don't take that long to master. But moving on to graphics. It's Mario. So I don't really think I need to say much here. It is pretty dang good graphics, like I said. Nintendo doesn't try to make the most visually appealing games. What they're doing is making nostalgia games and keeping their brand on point, essentially. Because Xbox and PS4 are always like, oh, let's gotta make the best game ever. We gotta make it super realistic. Well, that's not the thing. Well, that's what makes games a little bit less realistic, if that makes sense. Because you're playing games to escape reality, really. And so games that are super hyper realistic and that kind of thing, they can be good at times, but most oftentimes I want to play a game to forget about the world, really. And Mario can easily do that, because there's nothing in Mario that makes any sort of logical sense. It doesn't obviously look like real life at all, and so I think the graphics department obviously does an amazing job every single time. And that brings us to sound. Now the sound is your classic sounds. Now Koji Kondo, I think I'm saying that right. He actually came back to do the soundtrack for the game. They remastered it a little bit, remixed it, I think is the word actually, and so it's even better now with a little bit of a twist. And so he came back and he does the music for most Nintendo games, and him and his team, I assume, are pretty awesome at doing that. So again, another category that I don't think I need to go over too much. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Moving on to story and characters. There actually is a story to this game. But the first Mario Maker game, for example, did not, because, well, it's a level editor, so why would there be a story? But they somehow made one in the second one, and the story is that the Mario and Toadette built the castle. A dog decided to run on it. The dog stood on the reset button for at least 5 seconds, with Mario and Toadette literally doing nothing about it, and it resets the entire thing, and they had to work from scratch. Now, your job as the protagonist, which is Mario, is to go do some tasks for people, and the tasks, the people that are giving you tasks can be either Bowser, Magic Koopa, someone that's like in the skies or whatever. I forgot what his name is. Either way, they have weird names, but like father of name withheld, for example, is Bowser. Son of withheld or whatever is Bowser Jr. So you if you break it down, you can actually tell who's giving you the tasks. And inside the tasks, you got to collect coins. So your actual goal for the entire thing is to collect as many coins as possible. You get bonus coins for actually completing the mission. And once you get enough coins, you can start slowly rebuilding the castle and that kind of stuff. You meet some weird side characters on the way as well, like the eraser dude, the block whose name started with an S, but I can't remember what actual name it was. But like it's a pretty good story. It's a decent story for a level editor game. I did not think it was going to be that good. The levels are actually really good because the levels actually teach you the mechanics throughout the game, which I think is also a really nice touch. So yeah, I think it's pretty good. The characters, again, another category I think I don't really need to go over too much. Yeah, the 4 you can play as is Mario, Luigi, I think it's Blue Toad, and Toadette are the 3 you can, or the 4 you can play as. Sorry, Yellow Toad's gone. He died. So that moves us on to replayability. Literally endless. This is actually, I think, our first game. I think, because we haven't done Minecraft yet. So I think this is our first game that is literally endless. You could make any combination. I think my pet actually did a theory on this. And that it would take you, the universe could die, collapse, get reborn again, like 7 times before you make every single level once. Or like before you can play every single level once. I forgot what it was. But either way, it's like you would have to live forever to play every single game. Or to make every single level, or to play every single current level that's in the game right now. So literally endless. You can either play or make, up to you. I personally like making, but you might not. You might want to just play the levels that other people have made so you don't have to do any work. It's up to you. But the game is literally endless. You could play it forever. Literally forever. Until, of course, they come up with 3, and then you might switch. But who knows? So, moving on to personal takes. My personal take of this game is that it's super fun to not only make. I prefer making over than playing, but I do enjoy playing sometimes. So this is coming from a person that actually makes a lot of levels. Very easy to use. Literally, like I said before, if you have a problem in the level editor, you might have the problem. It's actually, it doesn't take that long to master it. And for playing levels, like I said, the only thing you have to come across is lag if you're playing with other people, wirelessly, mind you. If you're playing local, there's not usually any lag, except for when they prioritize the person falling to their death. That's not just a Mario Maker 2 thing, that's an every Mario game thing, which I still don't understand to this day. If a person is falling to their death, why does it prioritize them and not the people that are trying to live? Doesn't make a lot of sense. So unfortunately that's in this game too, but I didn't mention it earlier because it's in every Mario game. So there's 2 annoying things with multiplayer in general, whether it be co-op or versus. I think they both have problems. But other than that, I think the game is pretty good. Like I said, I do wish they had a couple game modes or maybe a couple more bosses or something, or more blocks and stuff. But I think, like I said, if they make a 3rd one, I do hope they do that, because I think I watched a video of someone making like, oh, here's what I want in Mario Maker 3, and I'm like, oh, I agree with all these. Because like, I want, like, don't give us all the tools, because then essentially we're making your own games for you. But like, give us, like, I would like to make a actual world, because there's a world mechanic in the game now, but it's not exactly the same, because essentially, first of all, if you want to make a 1-up house, you can only choose 3 variants. You can choose the mashing button, which I found it was actually random. The mashing, it doesn't depend on how fast you mash, actually, which I think is kind of stupid. Wow. What's the point then? You have the matching one, which you got to match tiles, and you got my personal favorite, which is the ball catching one, because that one is random, but it requires some skill, whereas the other ones are just kind of random. I wish, like I said, I don't think this would happen, but one thing I want in Mario Maker 3 is, you know that Wii version of the mushroom house where you got to flip the tiles and it's like a timeline? Yeah. I want that. Give me that. So let me make my own mini little house and put it in the world. That'd be awesome. That'd be super cool. Do I see them doing it? Probably not. I think that's wishful thinking. But if we all shouted at Nintendo, it might happen. But like, I think it's I just want more world customization. I think that's kind of the thing that I would want. Plus, you can only put 5 levels in one world. Technically, one world. And it's kind of and that one of the 5 levels includes the castle, right? And so I just kind of wish it could be this 8 that it usually is. And so you could have 8 levels in World 1, 8 levels in World 2, and so on and so forth. I do think there's some themes that are missing, right? There's some themes that are missing. So obviously it's not perfect. But I just think if they do make a third one, if they improved it, I think it could be close to perfect. Will it ever be perfect? No, it's Nintendo. But I think it's this game is not. It's pretty close. But if they fix the things I was talking about earlier in 3, then I think it could be pretty close. But I'll move over to Zach.
Okay, so I can't really say much about like the designing of the levels because I don't really do that. But when playing the levels, it can definitely be very fun. I really like this game, and like just from seeing like what you can do with it, like Mario Maker 2 with designing levels, it seems very, very cool. And I think I would actually have like a really good time like making levels if I were able to. Definitely the lag is a problem. I definitely remember when I would used to do that and play online and have that problem. That was definitely not cool. And yeah, I just wish that there were some other modes and a few extra things, but that's about it really.
Okay, Isabel?
Alright, so yeah, I enjoy this game so very much because it's very different from the others. And what I mean by that is that you can actually just like use your creativity and just like create your own. Because like Ethan created his own little story by just making levels in the world. Like that's super cool that you can do that in this game because you can't like do it in any other games. Obviously you can do it in Mario Maker, but in Mario Maker 2 you can use your creativity to make your own story or just like create your own levels so you can like have some fun by just not playing Nintendo's levels but yours and other people's levels too. It's super nice.
Also, for the third one, for the love of God, if you give us the ability to add a description to a level, please let the players be able to see it in the world that we're going to be making. Because, my God, that is so annoying to, like, switch to the course maker, then read the description, then go back to the world editor, then go into the world. It's really annoying. So, like, if you don't give us descriptions, fine. But, like, if you still have the description feature, allow them to see it in the world. I don't understand why that's not a thing. But anyway, moving on to Is It Worth It? It's on the Switch, so it is still available, because most of the Nintendo games we've done so far actually have been not available. Well, they're available, they're just not, Nintendo isn't making them anymore. But this was the first one, or one of the first ones that is, and so I would say I think it's still, sometimes the price drops, but because it's a mainline Mario game, it's usually $60. I would say with the amount of value you would get out of it, absolutely. Like I said, you can literally, the universe can die 17 times and you still wouldn't have been able to play every single level.
For real.
And now that's crazy. So, like, infinite possibilities, make or play, whatever you want to do, or both, to get the full enjoyment out of it. And it's crazy because a lot of companies actually have made levels. So for Wendy's, for example, they have made levels. Arby's have made levels. I think Lowe's made a level or something. Either way, like, a lot of companies are playing the game and making levels, which I think is a really cool, almost a form of advertising, and I kind of like it. So yeah, I think it's definitely worth it, especially for the price. If you can find it under $60, even better. Great. I wouldn't pay more than $60 though, because I don't think if it's more than $60, they're gouging the price. But that leaves us with final rating. So the final rating I would give this game, I haven't really been thinking about it too much, but I think I'm going to give it a solid 8. Because I think it could be better. It's not bad at all. Plus, I don't want to group it with Security Breach. And so, I think it's a pretty good game. I think just a little bit more improvements could get them that 9. I don't think it'll ever get a 10, because like I said many times, that there's only technically one game that deserves a 10. But I think with just a little bit more work, and if they make a third one, then I think that it could be a 9. But if for this specific game, I'm giving it an 8.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I really do not want to group it with Security Breach. And yeah, there's some improvements that could be made to give it a 9. But yeah, this is a very, very solid 8 in my opinion.
Alright, Isabel?
Yeah, I'm gonna also go with an 8. It just like suits the game very well. I don't think it should be given a 7, and I don't think it should be given a 9. Maybe, yeah, like you said, if there was some like improvements, then it could be given a 9. But I'm gonna go with 8.
Alright. Well, that is the end of this video. Hope you guys liked it, and hope this helped you if you wanted to buy the game, or if you were thinking about buying the game, to either buy it, or maybe if this isn't your type of game, maybe it helped you to be like, okay, no, there's too much work involved. I don't want to make my own levels. Either way, we hope it helped you in some way. On screen, maybe now, would be the playlist for the reviews. We've done tons of reviews. If you want to skip the first 4, I wouldn't blame you. That was when we were serious about it, because we did Deltarune Chapter 2, Cuphead, Security Breach, and Undertale, though they were all like an hour. So I understand if you want to skip those, but everything after that, which I think starting with Faz, those are full-length reviews where it's like, okay, we broke it down and it's super short, so you can get in, get out, and get the information you need.